Hello YouTube and welcome to Blackberry Ridge. Tonight we're going to be cooking again on our wood cook stove, and I have pulled one of my recipe cards out. This is one of our favorite recipes, or one of the recipes that we've used before, but we haven't used it as unstuffed. When you normally make a cabbage roll, you would take your big cabbage leaves on the outside, you would boil them, you would make rice. You'd take your big cabbage leaves and you put the rice and the hamburger and the tomatoes and you would roll it all up together and you'd put it in the oven. This is a much easier recipe. It's called Unstuffed Cabbage Roll. And as you can see from my note here, it goes really good with cornbread, so I might whip up some cornbread also to go with this. Ambee is going to be doing the cooking tonight. Something that we do is that we have to modify some of our recipes because we don't use a lot of canned goods. We can the majority of what we have. And we like to use what we have on property instead of running to the store for every little thing. So this recipe calls for 2 pounds of ground beef, a large onion that's been chopped, and then a small head of cabbage chopped. Ambee, would you bring the cabbage over here, please? Yes. Small head of cabbage that's been chopped. And I had a larger head of cabbage, so I just kind of looked at the size of my pot and chopped it up to figure out about how much room I had in my pot. It calls for 2 14.5 ounce cans of diced tomatoes, but we're going to be using a quart of our canned tomatoes that we actually canned on August the 5th of 2016. And it calls for 8 ounces of, excuse me just a minute, calls for 8 ounces, hold that just a second please, until I show all this. 8 ounces of tomato sauce, and so here you see we have a jar of canned tomato sauce that is 8 ounces. And it also calls for a half a cup of water, which we've got here. And we have 2 cloves of garlic. And it says minced, but I've just kind of rough chopped it. And then it calls for 2 teaspoons of salt and a teaspoon of black pepper. And what I have done is that I have put in a tablespoon of one of my favorite seasonings, which is stone meal steak seasoning, which is garlic and salt and pepper, red and black pepper, all mixed together. And then, of course, over here in Ambee's lap, we have our jar, our bowl of chopped cabbage. Over here on the stove, we have, Ambee has cooked up already the 2 pounds of ground beef with the 2 chopped onions. And I am going to go ahead and pause this for a second, and I'm going to drain it very well. And actually, this grease that's going to be coming out of here is going to go into the chicken bowl. We'll give this to the chickens. Okay, the next thing that Ambee is going to do is that she's going to put in all the other ingredients into our pot. So here she's putting in the diced garlic. Every little smidgen goes in. That's good, baby. That's good. What are you putting in now?
The steak seasoning. No, it's not soft crusty. Quit asking. No, it's bad.
What's that?
The water.
Mix it up some. You have to use the can opener, Ambee, to open the jars because they're sealed. No, this part right here. That part right there.
Okay. This is the tomatoes we canned.
There's no seal on that one. I already got the seal open on that one.
I think this is our tomato paste.
Tomato sauce.
Oh, sauce.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty good. We might take a little bit of water and rinse that out after we do this part, Ambee. Okay.
Mix it up before I add the other stuff. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna go get the green stuff.
The green stuff is cabbage.
Do we just put it on top? Or mix
You're going to stir it in. You're going to stir it in. Put it in a little bit at a time and stir it in.
Okay.
You can put more than that in before you stir it, okay?
Okay.
Okay, we're at 8.5 minutes, Ambee. Just go ahead and dump the whole bowl in. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to go ahead and continue to mix this in. We're going to put the lid on it, and then we are going to let it cook for about 30 minutes. We'll come back with you after we get to that part.
Okay, the cabbage is almost done. It's in its cooking thing.
Yep, can't touch it that way.
Yeah, I didn't think so, Mom. And this is what it looks like so far. And we got the rice started in the red cook pot. And we got some sweet cornbread in the oven. And you might not be able to see it, but it is in there. Get back to you soon. Okay. Got going.
Alrighty. We made us a pot of rice. So I'm going to put a scoop of rice on Ambee's plate.
That's our unstuffed cabbage. Okay.
And then a piece of cornbread.
That's the cornbread and our homemade butter. And I know this is not quite right, but I'm gonna do it anyway, if I can. Oops. Maybe I try something else. Okay. Put to the side. And mostly, me and Mom made both. The stuff I did mostly the unstuffed cabbage, and she did the cornbread. The rice started on the wood cook stove, but it got cooled down too much, and it got moved to the big stove. I don't go near the big stove because it's over my head somewhat in a wheelchair. I'll pause this, and we'll see what go from there.
Yeah, we're just going to call it a night. So, thank you so much for coming to Blackberry Ridge. As always, God bless America. Pray for our country. And y'all come down and visit us sometimes, and we'll fix you a nice big country dinner that we have grown on our land, because the majority of this food was grown on our land. Talk to y'all later. As always, subscribe and tell somebody about us.
Okie dokie. Good night.